Okay, so we're back here for another one, and I just got a shipment in from Midwest Model Railroad with a couple things, and also some things that I hope will be a permanent improvement for the channel. So let's take a look at what we got here. I got two ESU 5 decoders, and the more important thing, the new Athearn SD80Macs. And you can see here I got 7211. And what is the other one here? 7217. The other thing I picked up, and found this from watching some of the other YouTubers I'm subscribed to. It's a kind of like a gimbal is what these are called, but it's something for stabilization. So I've noticed in a lot of my videos, it kind of seems like the video is kind of going like this. Now I'm shaking it just for the dramatic effect there, but I'm hoping that hooking this thing up, learning how to use it, hopefully stabilizes the videos a little bit. So I'm going to unbox this thing and mess around with it a little bit and see if I can figure it out, and then we'll actually start making the video here for the 80Mac. Alright, so we're trying this gimbal thing out here, and we'll see how the angles are. I don't know how this is going to turn out, so hopefully I don't have to do it more than once. I did actually already have to do it more than once, but we're starting over. Alright. Got our exploded parts diagram there. It's a lot of parts. Here's what we're after. So hopefully no broken parts. It's always a concern with these hyper detailed models. They are super delicate and they travel an awfully long way to get to you. Come on, there we go. We're going to get rid of these handrail protectors. Oh, dropping my knife on the floor. I can already tell, kind of at first impression, this is a very heavy locomotive. Alright, so let's take a look over in here. Has all the sanding lines on down here at the bottom. That's kind of cool. Properly painted steps. A lot of little things that I redid to my Kato locomotives. Alright, let's see if that angle came out here and then we'll move on. Alright, so we're using this new contraption here to try to take a close look at this thing. Got some fuzzies on here. I'll get to that later. And we'll go ahead and flip it around here. Get a real good look at that front end. More fuzzies. And looks to be some sort of like, is that glue? Some sort of residue there on the handrail. Looks like I got a fuzzy in the fan there up top too. So that's kind of a nice close look at it there. Alright, so I opted to get the Dcc Ready versions of these locomotives. You can also get them with Tsunami Sound. I know that ESU has a really good 80Mac file, and what is a little bit different about these engines as opposed to other modern day EMDs is these have a 20-cylinder 710 engine, whereas a lot of the other ones are a 16-cylinder, so it is a little bit different sound. In the past, a lot of people throw the wrong sound files on these. ESU has been the only one for a number of years that had the correct sound. I'm not sure if the newer Tsunami 2 is actually reflecting a proper 20-cylinder sound or not. Either way, I prefer ESU, so that's how I got these locomotives. So next thing I have to do is take this apart and get the sound chip in there. I'm also going to get rid of these sorry plastic couplers, and I don't expect that the process would be too difficult to do that. I am a little bit curious, and honestly, I didn't really read up on these a whole lot. You know, I just kind of ordered them blindly and, you know, figured Athearn's doing an 80Mac. It should be pretty good, right? So I don't know if these are going to have light up number boards at all. I don't know if they have the ditch lights properly mapped or not, whether they're separate, because you do need these able to flash. That will probably involve some programming. I don't know about step lights or rail lights or any other kind of lights or LEDs that are in these, so it's kind of going to be a surprise to me. There is some see-through detail here on the back grille. You know, I took a gamble on these. I was really in love with my Kato 80Macs, and I sold those a couple months ago because I knew these were coming out, so I am hoping that I do not regret that decision, so we'll see at the end of the video how I feel about it. So we're going to get into the Dcc install here next. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take it apart here, and you want to use some type of foam apparatus, just so you don't bust off any detail parts on the top, or if it happens to flip over, you're not breaking anything. So this would appear to come apart kind of the same as SD60Es, the Athearn Genesis Aces, SD70s in particular. So what you want to do here is there's a Phillips screw here, also over here, probably take off the one on the fuel tank there for good measure, and also the front coupler pocket. So when we do all that, the top shell should come off here. Once we slide out the coupler pocket. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, so I have all of those screws removed, and we're just going to kind of flip it over here. And when we do that, there may be some screws that, oh, this appears to be coming off very easily. That was much easier than the SD70s are. So we'll take a look at what we have here. That's kind of weird. This appears to be in an angle here. Kind of flimsy. I'll probably secure that down a little bit better. No, actually I believe the motor mounts. Oh, there we go. Much better. So it wasn't snapped in all the way. And it looks like on the back here we got some LEDs. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect here, and we'll go freehand just to take a look at it. It would appear that the ditch lights there's some front LEDs on there, some surface mounts. And what else we got here? Taking a look at the board here. Kind of some unsecured wires there. And taking a look at the back here, a lot of glare there. You can see the surface mount LEDs there, which it looks like there's some light piping there. So it would appear that this, at least in the back, does have some lit number boards. I suspect the front will be as well. So next thing we want to consider is speaker location. So I don't see any cutout for a 28mm. So I'm guessing that right here is going to be our speaker location. And it looks like there's some screws on there. We'll see if that's an enclosure. Another little detail I want to show you here is it looks like there is some truck lighting. At least there's the LEDs in there for that. And it's a little bit better look at that light piping in the back. And you can see it up front there as well. And I went ahead and quick removed that little piece here, which it looks like on DCC models is just a solid chunk. But this will be where I put my speaker. So I'm going to take a look at a couple options. Thinking dual sugar cubes back here, but we'll see what we got here. Alright, so for our speaker solution, we're going to try something I've actually been wanting to try for quite some time, which is an ESU kit that actually gives you a lot of different options. So it comes with 2 sugar cube speakers, and then you kind of have your choice of different cutouts and formations that you want to put it into. So it's very customizable. And I've been kind of looking for the right project to give it a shot. So what it seems to call for here is a 16 by 35 speaker. So I've already cut out the pieces I'm going to use. And I got my 2 speakers here, which I'll have to wire for parallel so we can get a 4 ohm load. And you just kind of stack these together. I'll have to, of course, glue this all together. Just kind of one-handing it here. And then, of course, in here we'll put our 2 sugar cubes in there. Oop. I'll worry about that little piece later. So I'm going to go ahead and put this all together. Probably going to pick it up tomorrow morning because I don't really think there's a whole lot I can do now until this is all glued together and solid. Once it is, then I'll go ahead and put that in here, and then we'll set up the decoder and solder in the speaker wires, and we'll get started on the next phase. Okay, so I just kind of buttoned up things here, and I want to show you what I did. Little wire management here in the back. Got my built speaker enclosure here. A little more wire management. You can see the 2 sugar cubes in there. Made a couple changes here in the back half. Mainly, there's actually speaker ports here that weren't used. So I opted to hook my speakers right to that, and it actually works off of a couple pins that are already on the decoder. And then I'm not using the speaker connections that were right on here. A couple other things I want to show you while I'm in here. You can kind of see some of the different functions. And that's kind of just a general overview there. So I'm going to go ahead and button it back up, and then we'll make sure everything works. Well, I'm running into a problem here. And it's mainly with the front ditch lights. So Athearn, you know, they got this LED pad here, and then they got some fiber optic piping, which I will show you here. Basically, there's two little pads there. You can kind of see them. They're outlined in white. And the idea is that that's supposed to transfer light into the ditch lights. But in practice, it really doesn't work. And just to show you, you can barely even tell that they're on. Are they even on? They are on. Not that you could actually tell. So, that is that. I'll break out the light piping here just to show you. And it's not a terrible design. It's just in practice it doesn't actually work. So here we go. This is the piece, and you can kind of see here. The idea is that each one of those little pins here goes directly into the ditch light, and then on the back it's supposed to kind of pipe in right here, but it doesn't actually work. Since we have one of the pads available here, I'll show you. Basically what happens is it lights up very, very dimly. I mean, right where it, it's on there, it's nice, but it's just not enough light to transfer into the rest of the piping. So, thinking of a solution here, I think what I'm going to do is get some surface mount LEDs similar to these, chop this off, and then paste one directly onto the back here with some bigger size ones. Hopefully that's enough light that it transfers out decently. If not, it shouldn't be too hard to set this back to the way it was. But to be honest, it doesn't really work the way it is anyway, so I don't really have anything to lose. Okay, so moving on here, getting ready for what I hope will be the fix. Chopped off the Athearn light board there, and I'm getting ready to tin the wires. This, I believe, had a resistor on it, so I am going to put two resistors on here. That way I don't blow out my LEDs. And for my LEDs, I'm going to be using two of these 804 surface mount LEDs, Y804s. They're a little bit bigger, and I want as big a surface area as possible so that I can try to properly attach to where these light pipings are here. And I did test on the 9-volt battery. There's a number of reasons that you would use a 9-volt battery. One, to check polarity, because it's not marked on these, so that helps you with your installation. Also, when I plugged it into the 9-volt, I also hooked it up to just kind of touching it on the light board here to see if it actually gets these light pipes to a sufficient brightness. And it seemed like it did. Of course, I'll have to actually try it in the locomotive to be sure, but I think this might work. I sure hope it works, because it's going to be a lot of work to undo it if it doesn't work. So fast forward here about a half a day. I kind of made my own solution to the ditch lights, which was basically just running the surface mounts straight into the ditch light housings. And it works. Just need to take care of some of this wiring here and tidy it up a bit. Also noticed that I knocked one of the handrails loose, so I'll have to re-glue that on. So I'll take care of that here in a moment, and hopefully this all goes back together without pulling the surface mounts out of the housings or making them crooked and one light's brighter than the other. So that's always a fun process. So basically I kind of handled this the same way that you would normally handle a SD70 ACE that has incandescent bulbs, same way that you convert them. As far as the color, seems to be a pretty good match. I can, of course, turn down the brightness if I need to. So let's put it all back together. So I went ahead and put the shell back on, and look at that. You can actually tell that the ditch lights are on, just the way it's supposed to be. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of some of the detail damage here and put the fuel tank on and all the other little bits there and the new couplers. Also, in regards to the couplers, one thing I do want to mention is that I, again, just like I do on the SD70 ACEs, I use a slightly longer coupler on the rear. And the reason for that is that the pilots or the anti-climbers here, if you use really short couplers, these are going to bang into each other going around even a pretty narrow, actually, I mean pretty wide curves. It doesn't take very much just because the locomotives are too close together. So again, just make sure, and you know, you can use a short one if you want to, if you're not running anything behind it, but I like to run two locomotives kind of back to back. So for that, I kind of prefer to leave one of the couplers a little bit longer. I'm going to be running these as a pair, so I may only need to run one of them a little bit longer in the rear, but we'll check on that a little bit later once we actually get into running them. So I'm now experiencing a squeaking drivetrain issue when the locomotive is only going in reverse. It's really strange. So I wanted to see if the problem was following the decoder, just because it also kind of appears to randomly stop when I had the decoder in at times. So I put that decoder into the second engine, and I wanted to see if the second engine out of the box, if the ditch lights were any better, and well, one is better, the other just doesn't work. So, not a whole lot of difference there. So, let's see if this one, just trying to narrow it down to see if maybe I have a decoder problem, because it would run for a couple minutes and then it would just kind of randomly stop. This one doesn't appear to work at all. Well, that'll be another problem to try to figure out. Oh, wait a minute, here we go. That's not good. Ooh, that did not sound good. Something popped in here. Well, this just keeps getting worse. So I think one of my ESU decoders here that I got is bad, because the problem seems to be following this engine when I put it in there. This does not seem to have the drivetrain noise that 7217 has, but I did also notice that I had a missing detail part, which is that little grab iron there. It's actually supposed to be on the roof there. Fortunately, it was in the box and I saw it, so I can reattach that. So with everything that's going on, I don't really know that I'm going to be able to finish this review at this time, because I need a new decoder and I'm going to need a new motor. And then I also have some spare parts left over here from the first one, which, if this didn't actually look as dull as what you can see, you can't even tell the ditch light's on, so I'm going to have to do a conversion on this one as well. So I think for now, I'm just going to kind of end this video here. You know, it's sad that we didn't get to take a further look at these and how they sound with the ESU file on them and some of the other things, but truth be told, both of these have issues out of the box that I'm probably going to need to call Athearn on and get some spare parts. So that's it for this one, folks. I'm not going to leave my comments at this time. As you can imagine, not very happy about this. So we'll pick it up in part 2 maybe, if I can get some of these issues fixed.